Do you have trouble mixing green with acrylics? Like when you mix it yourself, it's never actually the shade that you want or need? Well, by the end of this video, I'll explain why that could be and give you some tips for mixing the right acrylic green every single time. For all the best lessons on painting with vibrant color, be sure to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell so you don't miss a thing. Okay, so I teach both beginning painters and more experienced painters, and one of the color hangups that seems to trip up both sets of painters is the color green. They tell me that when they try to mix it themselves, it's either not the shade they want, or when they get the shade they want, it doesn't mix well with other colors. It gets muddy and they can't blend it without it turning kind of brown or icky. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why that's happening, and spoiler alert, it's not you, it's your paints.
Alright, so much like in the video about mixing purples, when it comes to mixing greens, it is really all about the colors you're starting with. It's not you, you're not doing anything wrong by mixing certain colors together, but if you're not getting the vibrant green that you want to, there's probably a couple of things happening. So I'm going to break them down for you by demonstrating. So I have a bunch of different blues on the top. I'll explain what those are. And then I have two different yellows over here. I chose a warm yellow and a cooler yellow. It's just Hansa yellow medium and Hansa yellow light. That will come into play a little bit later, but that's what we've got here for our yellows. And then we've got all of our blues. So we know that yellow and blue make green, right? But which yellows and which blues you mix, you're gonna get different greens, and it's going to have different implications for how you can mix those greens with other colors. So let me show you what I mean. So these first three colors are actually, they're blue, but they're mixtures of other colors. So I've said this before, it is really important to pay attention when you are mixing colors, especially with the golden and Liquitex because they label the back. A lot of these colors are mixtures. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, but you have to understand that, because what that means is that there are multiple pigments in the back over here that are going to impact the color that's mixed. So this is teal, and you can see I have used almost the entire tube, but it's actually really old. I actually don't use this color anymore because I figured out how to mix my own teal. So I see a lot of people trying to make green by mixing teal and yellow, and the reason this doesn't always work the way you want it to is because it's a mixture. So this color has titanium white, phthalo blue, and phthalo green. So as I show you this mixture, let's talk about what that's going to mean. So I'm going to put a little bit of this on our little makeshift palette here. It's a really thick color. It's very opaque. So when we take the teal and we mix it with yellow, the color that we get right away, that's green. It's definitely vibrant, it's definitely green. But there's white in it. So if you were to try to use this color, let's say this is like the only blue you have at home and you're mixing it with this yellow medium and you're like, okay, I kind of like this color, but I want it to be darker. Well, maybe you'd go ahead and you'd mix black or Payne's gray. We've got Payne's gray here. I'm just gonna put a little bit over in this corner so that we can use it as we go. Just my favorite black alternative. So let's say you mixed a little bit of Payne's gray because you were like, I want this to be a dark green. Well, that's not really green anymore, right? It's kind of gray. Not really having a ton of control over darkening this. If you darken it more, it just gets more gray. It's not really staying green, right? The reason is because this teal, where did I put it? This teal already has white in it. So when you mix black and white together, you're gonna get gray. Plus the other pigments that are there too. We've got phthalo blue, phthalo green, and then yellow. You're gonna get kind of a muddy grayish yellow. So that's example number one here. So keep in mind, some of these colors, again, you might like the initial color that you mix, but these first three colors I'm going to show you aren't super versatile and can sometimes get you into trouble when you're mixing green. So let's try the yellow light. It's a little bit cooler. Again, it's lighter, a little bit brighter. It's kind of like that, it almost has like a unnatural green color, right? Like it's not exactly the color of a plant. It feels more like the color of slime or something, which might be useful to you, but it's not really gonna fit in with a bunch of your other colors, right? So let's take a little bit of Payne's Gray and trying to make that darker green also doesn't work, right? It's getting kind of gray. Same thing because the teal has white already in it. And when you combine Payne's Gray / black with white, you're gonna get gray. So now we're getting kind of a greenish gray, not exactly what we're going for when we're looking for vibrant greens, right? I'm all about choosing colors that are flexible, that are versatile. You can use them in multiple places. Teal out of the tube isn't really one of those colors because it's already pre-mixed. So we'll come back to that too. So now let's try a different one. So this is Azurite Hue, just another blue that I had picked up at the store. I liked it, I thought it was really nice, but I didn't realize also when I bought it, it's also a mixture. So I flip it over, zinc white, okay, there's that white again. Phthalo blue, okay, you're gonna see that in a little bit, and raw umber, which is a shade of brown. So let's see what happens when we use that blue with some of our yellows. And you can probably guess what's gonna happen. So let's see. Take a little bit of yellow medium, a little bit of this Azurite Hue. Again, not a bad green. It's not the fact that it's bad. In the purple video, it was a little bit more clear, like, okay, this is brown. It's not a terrible green, but again, we can make it darker. Take some Payne's Gray to make a nice dark green. You're not gonna really be able to get a super vibrant dark green. That umber that's in there, raw umber, that's neutralizing it because it's an earth tone, right? It's kind of lessening the impact at first. There's also zinc white, which is a more transparent white, and that's gonna lessen the impact of the green. So just something to be aware of as we're using this Azurite Hue, right? And now let's try it with the yellow light. All right. I have another bright green. I'm just not getting like vibrant plant green, you know? It's not a bad green, it's just not super vibrant because of that raw umber that's in the paint. Sometimes your paint is sneakily filled with other pigments that's going to throw off what you're actually trying to do. So we wouldn't really be able to darken this one either. Not really what I'm looking for when I'm looking for a nice, deep, beautiful green, right? Hopefully this is all making sense to you so far. So the next one I want to show you, same exact thing. This is light blue permanent. So any paint that you buy that has the word light in it is most likely going to have white already added. The way that you get this color is by adding white to blue, right? So Liquitex isn't quite like Golden. It doesn't list exactly the names of the pigments, but it does list that there are multiple pigments here. So while I don't know exactly what they are, I'm guessing one of them is white, and that's going to impact our color mixing. So let's add a little bit of blue. A lot of these paints are crusty because I haven't used them in a while because of what I learned that I'm about to show you when we get over here. So now let's do this light blue. We know that it at least has a shade of blue and white in it. So let's see what that means. Light blue. Again, not a terrible green color. It's not that this color is bad, but again, it's kind of that little unnatural slimy green color and it's already light, right? It's already a lighter color because there's white in this blue. So let's add a little bit of Payne's gray, try to darken this green. You're not going to be able to. It's just going to turn gray. Even if we go darker, it's just going to get even more gray, pretty dull, not what we want. And then let's do, with the yellow light, it's going to be more of the same. And that's not to say that you're not allowed to use any of these colors to mix, but I find a lot of my students, they want to mix their own colors, they want color palettes that are cohesive, they want paintings that feel cohesive. Using paints that have other colors mixed into them, it's going to present problems that you're not going to be able to solve because it's already in the paint. So same thing, if you were trying to use these two colors to paint like an outside landscape, it's just not, it's not gonna work. It's getting really gray, right? Even if I add a little bit more yellow back to it, it's not a deep dark green that we're looking for. These are all very similar, right? The point is not that they're like super strikingly different. They're pretty similar. Most blues and most yellows are going to give you something in this green family, but when you look closely, they're not super, super vibrant. They're not super versatile, and you can't really darken them because they already have other colors in them, right? So now let's take a look at two colors that I like to use. Phthalo blue green shade. Flip it over. It's just one pigment. Phthalo blue green shade. And then ultramarine blue, which is same thing, just one pigment, one color. There's no white in here, there's no umber in here, there's no brown in here. Two pigments that are just single pigment paints. Not saying you can't paint with multi-pigment paints, but much better, and you have much more control when they are single pigment. So let's see what happens now. This is a cooler blue. This is a little kind of advanced color stuff, leaning towards color bias. That just means that all colors lean toward one of the primary colors, right? This blue leans farther toward yellow. It's greener. Ultramarine blue, this is a warmer blue. It's leaning towards red. We're going to see differences in the green because of that. We'll do a different video on color bias. So we're going to take some yellow. I'm going to take a little bit of green. And look at that. That is, it's a little deeper. It's a little more intense. Let's do a slightly darker version. And it feels a little bit more pure, right? We've got this pure green. It doesn't have white already mixed into it. It doesn't have any neutrals already mixed into it. And if I wanted to make it darker, I'm just gonna do another example right here so I can make it darker. Got this green here, much deeper, definitely like a tree or like a leafy green. If I wanted to make it darker with Payne's gray, it's allowing me to make it darker, nice dark green without getting chalky, right? Because there's not already white mixed into this paint. Let's do the same for the yellow light. And you'll notice too, back to color bias, you'll notice these two yellows, one's warmer, one's cooler, they're going to make slightly different blues, or excuse me, greens when you mix them with the same blue. So let's take this slightly cooler, phthalo blue green shade. All right. And that's definitely leaning towards like a blue-green, right? It's vivid. It's more like an emerald green. Not anything like what I was seeing over here. It doesn't have white already mixed into it, but let's see what happens when we mix the Payne's gray, which by the way has a lot of deep dark blue in it. All right. Not quite as deep and vivid as this dark blue here, but it is allowing us to take it into a darker green more so than these colors over here were. So now let's wash off the brush again, and then let's check out ultramarine blue. This one is warmer, definitely leans more toward red. Let's take some of our yellow over here. And this is a less vibrant green. We've got a yellow that's leaning warmer, and we've got a red that's leaning warmer. Both of those are kind of leaning away from green, right? Let me take the color wheel down so I can actually show you that. So what I'm talking about is we've got a yellow that leans more towards orange. It's kind of over here on this side of the spectrum of yellow. And then we've got a blue that's leaning more towards red, that's like on this spectrum of blue. They're farther away from each other. That's why they're making a green that's just less vibrant. This one seems to be the winner, but I just wanted to show you that on the color wheel. I will cover color bias in a different video, but that's why this is happening. But that being said, it's still a more transparent green than what we're seeing over here. We're getting a lot of slimy, unnatural greens over here. We can add a little bit of Payne's gray to this. It's definitely a little bit gray. These colors have more red and more orange. They both have more red in them relative to other colors. So we're not gonna get a super vibrant green. It's gonna feel neutralized, but even still, it's a little bit more natural of a color. We have more control over it. Single pigment paints. And now, let's go to yellow light, cooler yellow with a warmer blue. Not surprising that this isn't the most vibrant green of all time for the same reasons I just said, but we do have a little more control over it. There is no white that's already been added. Add a little bit of Payne's gray, we can darken it. It's getting a little bit muddy, but just wanted to show you what happens when you add a cooler blue and a warmer blue. So I would say that our clear winner in this situation is going to be the phthalo blue green shade and the yellows. I prefer the yellow medium personally. I think that these came out really beautiful, really deep, versatile greens. The yellow light worked well too, but now you know when you are mixing green, it's important to keep in mind which blues you are using and which yellows you're using too. You can flip over and see on the back of your yellows, like you can see whether it's a single pigment or a mixture. And if it's a mixture, you want to be careful about what's in your paint. You got to take a look because that is going to impact your color mixing. So I hope this video helped you out, and I can't wait to explore other colors with you as well.
So now I want to hear from you. Have you had trouble mixing green before? Tell us in a comment. And if you want to know what other paint colors and supplies I use to get such vibrant colors in my paintings, check out my quick start guide to acrylic painting that is below this video. You can download that right now. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share it with all your color-loving friends. And be sure to watch these other color mixing videos right here, and I will see you in the next video.